Hello, everyone. We're back again with another session with Michael in Germany. Science is the New Religion script. And Michael, welcome. Thanks for having us going today.
Yeah, thanks for just taking the time, Brett, and thanks so much, Hector, which is in the background here. Just in addition, we have talked about the start of geology lately, and we have talked about the globe with the with the interesting stuff happening in the Roman Catholic Church, and so that we start fresh and new,
self-explanatory. Yeah.
Yeah. Some words.
So live is evil backwards.
Yes, or evil is life backwards. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
So when I ask people who are just busy with creation and all the stuff, like Kent Hovind, although I'm totally disappointed with him in the last years, I am very keen on his stuff that he was doing in the early years, that he will provide you with many informations about creation. So if you would like to have a go in it, then I would address it that you can also then just visit Kent Hovind's videos. Yeah, and in many things he's spot on, and when it comes to the explanation of the metal man and so that maybe he has a wrong understanding in it, but for the just creation thing, then he's really a force to reckon with. Because nobody can tell you what the weather was like, what the climate was like, what the vegetation was like before the flood. So therefore, it's absolutely futile to go all into this fantasy products like C14 carbon dating and so, because nobody knows actually. This is a map of the world. And I think that every child in the school, universities will say, yes, that's our planet. The Earth is not a planet, but this is our Earth. So that is the depiction that you usually come across. I think that everybody is familiar with this. Why does our Earth look like this? Brett.
Yes.
Why does our Earth look like this?
Oh, well, this is just a graphical representation of the land, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But not only.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you see? What's the majority of this map? What's the color in the majority of this map?
Ocean.
Ocean, yes, so blue.
Mm-hmm.
Oceans consist of?
Water.
What does man consist of?
Water.
Water. So I think that the Earth is a representation of us. So that is the best suited way for me for totally simply explain, okay, the ocean or the Earth has quite the same amount of water than we have in our own body. That depends from age, because when you're getting older, you have less and less and less amount of water. That's why your skin is not that soft and you got wrinkles and all the stuff. Yeah, okay. But it's actually a quite good ratio of mass and water. It's like in your body. That was my initial thought when I was looking to this. Since years also, I said, okay, yeah, we are consisting of water. That's why we have been affected by music. Yeah, so when music arrives and there's a big bass punch hitting on the floor, yeah, then your water in your body starts to move. You start to shake, you start to vibrate, yeah, you start to feel the rhythm. And that's also the cause and, the effect of this initiation music, or the rhythm of the heat, like Peter Gabriel and all the stuff. This monotone rhythm, boom, 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 boom. Then you get in the swing, and your totally body moves, and your body's been vibrating in the rhythm, and you sink in the rhythm. And so, therefore, it's no wonder that this marble, if it is one, consists of water. So I think that's just more fitting than a red planet, for example. Yeah, so that I really like our Earth, no matter how it really looks, but I really like it because it's in a big scale. It's just a representation of us. Yeah, so that's a suitable place. So everybody finds here a place that he can accommodate to. So somebody likes it a little bit more cold, then he goes to the north. Somebody likes it a little bit more hot, he goes into the center or in the south. Or he goes into a land where the vegetation is different from the other. I think that there is a country or a space on that earth here that suits anybody. Okay? So now comes the funny one. The earth actually is a cat. Just playing with the ball.
Right.
Yeah, or Australia on that regard.
Yeah. And you'd have to live in Russia to be in the head.
Yeah. And that cat speaks Japanese. Yeah.
Oh.
And the United States is the we do not talk about it.
Right where Bill Gates is, yeah.
Yeah, that's the poop. Oh, okay. Even in that hilarious depiction here, you're screwed. Yeah, okay. Let's get it on. The Bible does not teach a flat earth. The Bible does teach a circular earth. You see that everybody who tries to put somebody in some certain direction, we are living in a multi-dimensional space. Everything has not only length and width, but also depth. So,
right.
Yeah? So the term itself is incorrect. That's why I always say, where is it? That's why I always say that is an incorrect depiction here. And some say that we are missing a planet. So that there's a space between Mars and Jupiter out there, somewhere out there, over the rainbow. Yeah, so there is a space out there where there could be a supposed other planet which existed quite long ago. And that would be the Phaeton or the what else? I do not go into all the stuff. I just want to nitty-gritty. So once again, the cosmology conflict. And this is the Gleason's new standard map of the world, which has been used for that book, The Cosmology Conflict, that we have written, or at least that we have written, Brad and me have written that. And I really don't think, I will minimize it a bit here, I don't think that there is any map which can depict the Earth correctly. Because of the problem I just told you, that we are living in a at least three-dimensional world. These maps are just only for orientation, as I think Brad pointed it out 1 week ago. So that is just for orientation. That cannot be, no map at all can depict the right view of anything. And it can't be, because if this earth has been divinely created, which we believe as Bible-believing Christians, then you can't depict God's creation in a correct way, because it's just out of our limited imagination. It consists of so much things. You can't depict it on a pure sheet of paper. That's impossible. So I think that flat is incorrect, and I think that globe is also incorrect. Yeah, that's what I always said. I said, no, I'm not somebody who's against or for the globe earth, and I'm not for or against the flat earth. I think made my point quite clear. I'm not interested in that. But I think that the deception that lies in the science that the papacy has put out in front of us, they want to frame you inside, flat earth is so important. No, it is important that you know that you're part of the creation and everything has been created by God, that you live in a geocentric earth. That's the really essence of it. And what are these Jesuits and all these Catholics, these popes and papacy, what are they doing? They're trying to frame you. You can only talk about the flat earth. And we will not talk about the flat earth. We are not any children here. We decide what we are keeping ourselves busy with. Right, Brett?
Right. Hector raised his hand. I think he's got a question for you. Go ahead, Hector.
Sorry, what's a mistake?
Oh, it's a mistake. Okay. Okay, cool.
In my humble opinion, you cannot depict a correct three-dimensional model on a sheet of paper. Yeah, you can try, but there will always be numerous errors. And that's not the essential thing. You will see why it is important later, but not in these sessions, because I have to build it up so that you have a clue somewhere what I'm going to do in these sessions. I'm not wasting your time, really. I promise I'm not wasting your time. At least I try. I try very hard. I try very hard to research all these things, and then I come to a totally different conclusion. Trust me. Yeah, I will not waste any time. So, if you have really a good foundation or want to have a good foundation, then we can really recommend that book that we have read to. And in that book, we have a firmament here, like a tent, which has been talked into the Bible. So please listen to the Bible, and then when you got the Bible at hand and you compare that book with the Bible, you get a decent impression of what this earth is. And this earth is, quite simple, the footstool for God. So this is where his creation lives, in the flesh. And his creation in the spirit lives in the heavens above the firmament. So there is a clear border here. Everything under the firmament is living in the flesh, like the fowls who fly in the sky, and everything that is in the spirit is living above the firmament. So that is quite easy. And what it looks like and how long and all the stuff, yeah, okay, you can keep yourself busy your entire life. But we have to face the fact that all these wrong teachings, they were present even in the time of the Old Testament, like here in Jeremiah 2. And we have read that verse last time. Yeah, and we don't have to read it again, because it is just here totally clear that there were always people who were rejecting the Almighty God as the creator of the world, and instead they're just venerating their images and idols. Their images and idols, which were their pagan gods in stones or what else, yeah, they have been replaced in a broad variety in the new science. So people believe in man instead of God. And then you see all these totally coincidences. The Earth revolves around the Sun at 66,600 miles per hour, and the curvature of 1 square mile is 666 feet, and the Earth tilts at 66.6 degrees. And you believe all of this. And if you believe all of this, so you can assume, as a general hint, that in a satanic world with all the deceivers, and NASA means not a space agency, or North Americans space actors. You can imagine.
Never a straight answer.
Yeah, never a straight answer. You can assume, quite logically, that if you're living in a satanic world, when you have read the Bible, under a satanic government, when you have read the Bible, you can assume that everything that they put out in front of you is incorrect. So the easiest thing would be to assume the opposite. Yeah, and the opposite would be that there is no gravity. And the opposite would be that it is not gravity of the moon which pulls the waters of the earth. So that is not the moon who creates the tides. That might seem revolutionary and out of any mind, but I am sorry, I don't believe in anything that the government and science puts out in front of you, because the NASA is not an infallible organization. Although they have been sponsored by the papacy, so in their argument there are, and it's just part of the American army, so therefore it is an army project. Yeah, so I reject every theory they put in front of us, and you have to start from scratch actually. So every thing that they point out in front of you, you have to question. You have to question the authorities, because these are just paid actors. So when they are lying to you with the moon landing, so what do you think is the other stuff they're doing? Yeah, that's their job, to lie to the people. They say that Moon and Earth exert a gravitational pull on each other. On Earth, the Moon's gravitational pull causes the oceans to bulge out on both the side closest to the Moon and the side farthest from the Moon. These bulges create high tides. The low points are where low tides occur. Yeah, that sounds so logic, but you can have logic even when you start with an error, and then you add another error, and you add another error. So all these things are just making some big error, and it seems plausible, but if the root is corrupt, then the outcome will also be corrupt. Question. When the human body consists, in average, of 60 to 70% when you are 30 to 50 years old, let's assume to this, why does the moon not have a gravitational pull on men, women, children? They declare that the moon is just responsible for the tides. Yeah, so when they can move oceans and create waves, why is not happening such a thing inside your body? Has somebody thought about this? That's why I ask somebody, if you just compare the Earth with all the amount of water to your body, why should the moon have a gravitational pull causing the tides on the Earth, but it does not succeed in having the same effect in the human body? And many, many, many items in the human body, or in the mankind body, or what else you would like to point it in your body, consists of water. Even the brain, the blood, the heart, the bones, the muscles, the liver, the kidneys. Yeah, they all consist of a majority of water.
Well, Michael, as long as you're on the subject, might I add that a lot of the water is actually part of gas. So there's a lot of gas in the human body too, if you want to call it human, in mankind.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
in mankind, there's gas, and gas has liquids. Water is one of them, for sure. So this is not a simple thing. The body is very, very, incredible creation in of itself.
Do you really think that when you look to the Bible and God created the waters before the earth and the moon, that the moon was being created to have a gravitational pull to the earth, when the moon clearly the only function it has is to place light on the earth when the sun has been going down? So that it makes no sense. Biblically it makes no sense, and scientifically it makes also no sense. Sure, you see that you have fluids in your body. Yeah, look at your bloods, your vessels, your arteries and all the stuff. Yeah, so these are liquid. Yeah, so it must have a devastating effect on the human body when the gravitational pull would be correct on the human body. And okay, you see that everybody is free to have his opinion, but that's just my opinion. I don't believe any bit of it. Yeah, so 71% of the so-called planet or of the Earth is water. Yeah, and now you compare this with the human body. 50 to 65%, and the younger you are, the more water that will contain. But of course, you see, when people want to believe all the explanations of the NASA, they are free to believe it. Yeah, Eurythmics also told us in that video of Sweet Dreams. Sweet dreams are made of these, and she's pointing on the globe Earth, or on the Earth, and she has a globe beside her. Yeah, so sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Yeah, everybody is free to have, entitled to have his own opinion, but I think there is quite much more to it. I think that there are magnetic forces, for example, who are just been responsible for many, many, many other effects. But who am I to question the authorities? Huh? So if I assume that also the opposite is more likely, then Elon Musk has not sent a Tesla car in space. Because Spacebusters have also published another video here that they have seen in one frame of that video that is most likely a green screen animation. And I said since years that it is not happening. Yeah, so that is just a hilarious task. But I suppose, and I'm frightening that the majority of people will take it as granted that Elon Musk or somebody, some puppet, went to space with a Elon Musk car, with a Tesla car. So what does that tell you about the spacecrafts of Elon Musk and SpaceX, yeah, when he's just cheating with you a few years ago? Yeah, these people are cheating. It's just space fakery. That's what it is. Yeah, so you see that his speedboat looks like dripped in water, so that anything can be animated. Yeah, nobody knows for sure. Yeah, and some flat Earth people will say that, yeah, sure, they are hitting the waters above under the firmament. Yeah, but I'm not going into this. This is not my task anymore. Yeah, and also they claim quite correctly that the simple physics will prove them wrong. That's the light source, as the moon as the light source. They would totally cover everything in the brightest white you can imagine. You could not take any pictures on the moon. Look at any moon at full moon, how bright the moon then is, and if the light is sufficient, there is a inverse square law when you can also then, if you have the proper distance, can calculate how bright it must be on the moon, so that you can't take any pictures. So it's so easy to debunk all that stuff. Yeah. And it's also very interesting when the NASA is putting an official picture at 100,000 feet, if that is correct. Here they have a curvature, and if there is a meter weather balloon at 120,000 feet, then the curvature could not be shown. So you can fake everything. That's what I tell you. You have to be very, very, very carefully. What I find interesting when it comes to the Earth and when it comes to water, there's a quite interesting argument here that the Bermuda Triangle is so infamous for all these accidents because the government maybe wants to avoid people recognizing that the trash of all these rockets and all the hilarious stunts are just happening below here, Cape Kennedy, or Cape Canaveral here, where all the rockets been started. So that was a hilarious theory that somebody says, oh yeah, there's Bermuda Triangle. Where do we know triangle from, Brad?
Pyramids? I don't know.
Freemasons, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Apollo mission, pyramids, Freemasons, NASA stuff. Yeah, interesting.
Oh yeah, the dollar bill.
Yeah, the dollar bill. Interesting stuff, huh? Yeah, when they dump the shuttles, when they take off. Yeah. They're picking up their shuttles after they crash. Yeah, so you have to question everything. Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you go into the Earth and when you think about the Earth and all the different heights, then you have a different pressure in every height. The pressure usually is decreasing the higher you get. Problem is that you don't have enough oxygens in your lungs, so that is very, very, very hard to reach great altitudes. And it's very interesting because these usual science claims that there's a vacuum in space. So that means there is nothing. Yeah, vacuum means emptiness of space. So nothing means nothing. Yeah, and nothing cannot cause everything. It's like the Big Bang. Yeah, so nothing can come out of nothing. Only God can do something and speak something in existence, and that's not earthly physics. So nothing cannot cause everything. It's like the same hawks like in the Big Bang. But our science says that vacuum does not mean nothing when it clearly does, because the word says it's nothing. It's like the atoms. When we talked about the atoms, we say that, the atoms are the smallest particles of matter. And after that, they have then discovered smaller particles and even smaller particles. So it's the same. You see that you find no absolute truth in science. Yeah. So usually you would assume that vacuum cannot create anything and cannot do anything because it's not a force. It's just a clearly situation where there is nothing, and nothing can create nothing. Nothing can affect nothing except bending time and just transmitting gravitational waves. That's the explanation of your scientists, that nothing can create anything. That is the same hilarious explanation like in the Big Bang and in all the other stuff. Interesting, huh? So, there is no absolute. Yeah, it depends on your view. Yeah, which clock is running faster and which clock is running slower than the other. It just depends on your point of view. Yeah, so that's the big hawks that we are being facing. So, where do we know why our sun is so big and our moon is so little? Well, in the Bible, in Genesis, we learn the following.
Genesis, yes. Chapter 1, verse 16. God made the two great lights, one, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
Mm-hmm. So lesser can mean literally in quantity, size, or number, or figuratively in age or importance. So I think we cannot find out if God means that the moon is smaller, because from the earth they both look the same size, right, Brett?
That's correct. That's why you have a total lunar eclipse.
Yeah, right.
It's like they're made perfectly for just as the Bible says, two lights.
And now we are facing our first big problem. Because who knows how big sun and moon actually are? There is a certain Aristarchus of Samos, who was an ancient Greek astronomer, if he lived, and mathematician, if he lived, who presented the first known heliocentric model. Here. So, Aristarchus of Samos is the originator of Copernicus' book of 1543. Aristarchus of Samos presented the first known heliocentric model, so that means that this is a solar system, a sun system for the sun worshippers of the Roman Catholic Church, that placed the sun at the center of the known universe, so the center of attraction. So that's what all about, is the sun of the known universe, with the earth revolving around the sun, which is incorrect, once a year, and rotating about its axis, which is also incorrect, once a day. So how can he claim any distance and any size of the sun? Because there are variables which cannot be solved, according to my humble opinion and the opinion of other YouTubers. According to Ptolemy, during Aristarchus' time there, he observed the summer solstice of 280 BCE. Along with his contributions to the heliocentric model, as reported by Vitruvius, he created the two separate sundials, one that is a flat disk and one hemispherical. You choose yourself what you want to believe, but it's a big problem that I see here. Aristarchus was influenced the concept presented by Philolaus, if they existed, of a fire at the center of the universe, but Aristarchus identified the central fire with the sun, and he put the other planets in their correct order of distance around the sun. How can he do this? I cannot give you any answer, because usually if you want to calculate the exact size of distant objects, you need at least two values. You need the distance or the size. But if you don't know the distance or the size, how can you do any calculations? You can think of yourself what I mean. You can achieve a lunar eclipse, what Brett just very much pointed out here, and it was on the spot. When this is the Earth, and that is the Moon, and that is the Sun, then it does not depend on the size of the sun. It depends also on the distance. When both of them, sun and moon, are just appearing to be identical in size, viewed from the earth, so from a geocentrical view on, then the sun could be larger and further away, or the sun could be smaller and just quite near to the moon. So the moon would block the sun when the sun would be small and very close to the moon, as well as the moon would block the sun, when the sun would be bigger, but just further away. So it's the visual angle, that is the angle of a viewed object, subtends at the eye, usually stated in degrees of arc. It is also called the object's angular size. So if it is smaller and would be nearer, it would be the same size, and it would be bigger and further away. So why can anybody come up with the right size? And there you go. Nicolaus Copernicus knew about the possibility that Aristarchus had a moving earth theory, although it is unlikely that Copernicus was aware that it was a heliocentric theory. Ah, yeah, yes, and I believe in fairy tales and wishing wells and all the stuff, huh? Yeah, Copernicus was a Catholic, and it is quite likely that he has contacts to somebody who just knew about it all, and he was also forced to publish that stuff if you really dig in deep into this. So, now comes the valid sentence here on Wikipedia. Aristarchus estimated the sizes of the sun and the moon as compared to Earth sides. Ah, it is an estimation. Aha. He also estimated the distance from the Earth to the sun and moon. He is considered one of the greatest astronomers of antiquity, along with Hipparchus. And then you think that everything is okay as long as it serves the heliocentric system, right? The visual angle, says Wikipedia also, describes how big something appears, in example how large it is in the field of vision. The connection between appearance size and real size is distance. Without knowing the distance, you can only estimate the real size through experience, and this can be very misleading. Yeah, and then they come up with their hilarious explanation of the curvature of space. So then you know that it's all pseudoscience. The only thing that is really important for these people is just that you and your children, all of the people are just believing in a heliocentrical system. Heliocentrism, says Wikipedia, the original text has been lost. Oh, interesting. But the reference in a book by Archimedes entitled The Sand Reckoner describes a work in which Aristarchus advanced the heliocentric model as an alternative hypothesis to geocentrism. And I think I do not have to point everything out here. This is just a session to just put some interesting thoughts out so that you really see what your science actually is. It has to be a heliocentric system, yeah, because it's just a doctrine. Yeah, there is no absolute. So where would you be your point of absolution, or where would be your absolute point in space? Yeah, where you are fixed and you do not move, and then you can decide if the Earth moves or if the sun moves. Actually, nobody can do this. Yeah, because that's the same problem as in other systems, inertial systems. Yeah, actually you can't do this. You can't take any stance of any absolute. If something is moving, but it depends on your relative view. What is moving? So the thing is that he estimated the distance. Aha, okay. So he estimated the distance. So it's all an estimation. This is not science. This is not knowledge. This is belief. When somebody tells me that he estimated, yeah, you can only estimate the real size through experience, that this can be very misleading, yeah, and then he puts out in front of me, Aristarchus estimated the sizes of sun and moon and compares to Earth size. Yeah, then I'm out of that discussion, because it's just futile. It is just a belief. It is just a doctrine which has been put out. It is an alternative doctrine, and if you know all this stuff and all the sessions that we talked about, I'm not a scientist and I don't want to be somebody. I just want to use my own common sense. The heliocentric theory from Aristarchus of Samos, of course, was revived by Copernicus, after which Johannes Kepler described planetary motions with great accuracy with his 3 laws. Isaac Newton later gave a theoretical explanation based on laws of gravitational attraction and dynamics, which is all totally BS, but you have to read then the cosmology conflict to get the point. Yeah, it's all heliosorcery, because Johannes Kepler, Isaac Newton, they all venerated the sun. Yeah, so distance to the sun. Main article, Aristarchus, 3rd century before Christ, calculations on the relative sizes from left, sun, earth, moves, and from a 10th century Greek copy. Yeah, and you see the same problem here. Yeah, if you don't know the size, yeah, you can only estimate things. The only known surviving word usually attributed to Aristarchus on the sizes and distances of the sun and moon is based on a geocentric worldview. Historically, it has been read as stating that the angle subtended by the sun's diameter is 2 degrees, but Archimedes stated in the Cent Reckoner that Aristarchus had a value of half a degree, which is much closer to the value of 32 arcs of 0.53 degrees. And you do not know what is correct because you can't prove it. This is just religion. We have to believe it. Yeah, every time, yeah, he might have proposed that was used to estimate. Yeah, this is not science. Science would be you take on a spaceship, you fly out there in space. Yeah, nothing can harm you because it's a vacuum. There is nothing in it. It's very strange that there's a vacuum bread because I thought there were meteorites and all the stuff. But what do I know, huh? Yeah. Aristarchus considered the proportions of the sun's distance to Earth in comparison to the moon's distance from Earth, which was found to be roughly 80 to 20 times the length. How would you know it? How would you know it? Yeah, that would be a principle of triangulation. But if you don't know the diameter or the size, yeah, you can have several results. Yeah, either you estimate that the object is bigger and further away, or you estimate that the object is smaller and he's just much more nearer. And now you just use your own common sense, and I just ask my beloved brother Brett, what would you suppose? What would they choose for a model? Would they choose a model where the moon has the same size as the sun as it appears from the Earth? Or would you think that they come up with another idea?
Well, they have to come up with another idea.
Yeah.
Of course, especially if they want a heliocentric model.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, Brett has just used his common sense. If you have to have the sun as the center of the universe, she has to be dominant. She has to be the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so logic. Yeah, from the Earth, it appears at the same size, sun and moon. Yeah, but the heliocentric system has to be the sun as the dominant force. It's the creator of life. And what else would they tell you with all the evolution theory and all the stuff? Yeah, so it has to be dominant. It has to be further away. Sure, quite logic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now they claim that the Earth atmosphere stretches out to the moon and beyond because of several problems with their so-called moon landing. Yeah. In 2019, so imagine 50 years after the supposed moon landing, they are coming up with the explanations that the Earth actually extends its atmosphere onto the moon. They did not know that 50 years ago. What did they know 50 years ago? Nothing. It's all a big lunacy. Yeah, I think that's the best part of it.
The lunar lander.
Yeah, the lunar lander, the lunar crater Aristarchus.
You know, that's funny, Michael. Isn't that funny? I mean, I was just reading a news feed this morning about a lunar lander that NASA's sending out, in a couple days. I mean, the lunacy. Mm-hmm. Speaking of lunacy, why would they be sending out a lunar lander now?
Yeah.
Gee.
Yeah. They can claim anything. Yeah, and people will believe it because this is science. This is being told by your professors. Triangulation and all the stuff.
So-called, yes.
Can't happen. Can't happen because you do not know the distance. If you could estimate or you could calculate actually the size if you would know the distance.
But if Elon Musk says it's happening, well, then we have to listen.
Well, maybe he would. Maybe he has driven with his electro-powered vehicle onto the moon. Yes, no problem. The moon is within the atmosphere of the Earth. He must have used a snorkel maybe because a bit water up there. But what do I know, huh? My, you see, that is hilarious when you think about it, what they are just claiming to you, but it's just a heliocentric thing. See, A recent discovery based on the observations by the ESA, NASA, Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. So it's all about heliospheric. It's all about Helios. All about Helios, that's the sun god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course it must be, because the sun must be the biggest one and the earth is just a tiny little blue marble. Yeah? So everything must be ridiculed, which is God's word. Yeah, in God's word, we read actually in Genesis 1 that God created heaven and earth. So, what must be the most important item of God's creation? The thing he created first.
Mm-hmm.
That must be the foundation. So the earth must be of uttermost more importance than the sun and the moon, because the sun and the moon are the servants of the...
Don't forget the heaven.
Yeah, sure. But the sun and the moon is for the earth and not for heaven. My point actually is here that God says, and God made the two great lights on the fourth day. But they are just...
But the point I'm trying to make, Michael, with this is we're the ones that are having a problem. You see, we're the ones that are wrestling with what the truth is here. When you just toss it all aside, you can just enjoy your life as it is. You don't have to worry about it.
They are having a big party.
When you study this stuff and you have to come to a rational explanation for it, that's when you have a trouble with it, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're wrestling with here.
So you see, the sun and the moon are only signs for seasons, for days and years, and lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. So you see, from the verse 15 alone, yeah, Brad, would you please read it?
Yeah. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. So it's part of heaven, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, but also it is a servant to the earth, because it is ordained, it has been created to give light upon the earth. So it serves the earth. It's the same thing around. You see that if you got a heliocentric evolution, then they are putting everything around. So the sun is not the servant anymore, but the master.
Well, yeah, it's the whole idea is to tip the Bible upside down. It's learning against learning, right?
It's learning against learning, yeah. Yeah, and God said them, please read just verses 17 and 18.
Okay, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon, you're blocking my view, upon, Michael, take your cursor off 17. Yep, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so their purpose is to give light upon the earth. Case closed. Either you believe the Bible or you believe your NASA and all your Wikipedia stuff. I don't believe them. I just stick to the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
A commentator says, the moon attracts water so powerfully that it moves oceans and pulls water up to float in the sky as clouds. They also say humans are 3/4 of water. It seems to me that humans would not bounce on the moon. They would have the water powerfully pulled out of their bladders at the same time that their eyes are pulled out of their sockets. Blood vessels swelling would likely happen to the point of bursting at the weak point. So yeah, that's also an interesting argument when you think, okay, people are not on the earth anymore, but they are just bouncing on the moon. Yeah, when the moon is just attracting all the stuff. But of course, it has no effect to the extreme durability of the spacesuits. Yes. Eratosthenes, a Greek mathematician who calculated the circumference of the earth and also the distance from the earth to the sun. Yeah, that's just another joke. Yeah, they are just all measuring something, but I have to question myself, who is just questioning these kind of quotes and states 200 years before Christ? Are there any people who are just critics of the system, and can they read and write? I guess not. So, I think that we are totally dependent on the system and we can't measure it. We can't measure the earth. So, any calculation, any data could be valid, invalid, or corrupt. So, it makes no sense to go into this. But if you know that you have been betrayed, then it's just a good foundation. Yeah, you see, you have to step in 2 values. And then you receive the third. That's mathematics. You cannot betray this formula. And also with triangular points, it just makes no difference. You don't have the instruments, like them. You only have to trust your scientists, and would they lie to you? Which scientist you know has officially claimed that the moon landing was faked, Brett? Yeah, that's a rhetoric question, huh?
Well, it depends on who you would trust as a scientist, I guess.
Yeah. So
I mean, really, if you just simply go way back to the most basic definition of science, it's just study and practice. That's it. So anyone can be a scientist, Michael, but who's the official scientist? You have to be a scholar. You see, you have to be studying in religio studiorum to be a scientist, right?
Mm.
You have to go to university, universal church, to be a scientist. You have credentials to be a scientist. See, it's sophistry and casuistry. Jesuit all over again, huh?
So as the rule is that the sun must be bigger than the moon. Yeah, so you see that it's a heliocentric system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Eratosthenes measures the earth, they claim. Yeah. By around 500 BC, most ancient Greeks believed the earth was round, not flat, but they had no idea how big the planet, you see, the earth is until 240 BC, when Aristotlemus devised a clever method of estimating its circumference. So he measures the earth when they had no idea of the other continents, of course. In 500 BC, he proposed a spherical earth, mainly on aesthetic grounds rather than on physical evidence. Oh, how fitting. On 500 BC. Guess what? I don't know. I don't think that there are any critics living in 500 BC, so they can claim anything. Do you know that he lived? Based on 2 or 3 other books that somebody has written? And that's a proof? I don't believe anything, because if they can fake the moon landing in 1969 with millions or billions of people watching, they can only fake. They can also fake 2 or 3 books in any library in Greece, right, Brett? 500 before Christ. You can fake anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like many Greeks, he believed the sphere was the most perfectly shaped. Possibly the first to propose a spherical Earth based on actual physical evidence was Aristotle. Oh, did he live? Who listed several arguments for a spherical Earth. Ships disappear first when they sail over the horizon. Earth casts a round shadow on the moon during a lunar eclipse. Yeah, okay. But the Earth is circular. Yeah, we know this. So different constellations are visible at different latitudes. Yeah, the ship disappears also about the view angle of your eye. Yeah, so that has some other causes, but it is not a proof for a global Earth or a spherical Earth. Around this time, Greek philosophers had begun to believe the world could be explained by natural processes. Yeah, of course. Why? Because they are agnostics. They are Gnostics. And the Bible warns for that Gnostic teachings. Yeah, they believed the world could be explained by natural processes, so that there is no divine intervention and no divine creation. Rather than invoking the gods, or one god, and early astronomers began making physical measurements in part to better predict the seasons. The first person to determine the size of the Earth was Eratosthenes of Cyrene, who produced a surprisingly good measurement using a simple scheme that combined geometrical calculations with physical observations. Yeah, and you have to believe that too. And now, Brett, more than 2,000 years later, they claim there is dark matter. And there are black holes. Yeah? For me, the entire theory is a black hole. Yeah? But they can claim anything. dark energy, dark matter, and all the stuff, and people now been afraid, and I guess they will play that card too in the future, that maybe all the world will have to unite and give all their possessions to the...
Could it be an admission? It's like, okay, 1/3 of the stars fell from heaven.
Yeah.
See, we have to have our
they have dark energies. Yeah, they have.
There is such a thing as the sons of Cain. Yes, so they must have their dominion over all of the creation. You see, and you must not question them, Michael.
No, you got a scientist with a theory, then you got another second scientist as a backup, and you got a third scientist as a witness, and then the theory has been proven. Sure, that's the same thing they always make. They did it in the case of Einstein, and they did it in other cases too.
Yeah, they force it through.
Yeah, they can measure the length of shadows on Earth, and then they can't calculate this and calculate that. But you see that. Come on, you see. They are coming down with so many hilarious conceptions.
Michael,
yeah.
It's just like bearing false witness.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that vacuum can do nothing except bending and to transfer gravitational waves. Sure. So nothing is responsible for anything.
Gravitational waves.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that bent space, time, and all the stuff. Yeah, it can't happen. Yeah, and that is an argument I can make with my own senses. This entire theory of relativity of Einstein also serves the purpose to make way for that new so-called science, or actually science so-called or pseudoscience. Quantum physics is a study of matter and energy at the most fundamental level. It aims to uncover the properties and behaviors of the very building blocks of nature. And there it is fantasy physics, yeah, you can do anything. Yeah, and you can't prove anything because you don't have any measurements, and you don't have to buy their entire theory. But that was also very, very important that Einstein came along to get rid of the ether. Yeah, so everything is relative and everything is possible. You see that multiverses and all the stuff they are coming up with. But that's quantum physics. Yeah, in quantum physics you can also have no gravity, and in quantum physics everything is possible. Because it is not bound anymore, according to my knowledge at the time, it is not bound anymore to their usual physical concepts. So everything is possible. Yeah, it's like that you can become everything that you want, Brad. You can have 50 new sexes. It's no problem. You can change your gender. You can do anything. Yeah, in their so-called science. So it's all relative. Yeah. Yeah, so they are depicting also different sizes and different colors of the Earth, and they also, of course, are depicting different sizes and different shapes of the moon. Sure. But you have to believe it. On the one hand, they are showing you craters here from rocks, stars, meteors, what else? Debris. Yeah, it's full actually. Yeah. On the other side, when you are looking at a picture of your astronauts going on the moon, there are none. Even not there where the moon lander has landed, right? So, guess what? When the surface of the moon would be full of holes, so that theory is too. And I got another point, yeah, because there are meteorites out there. Yeah, so how bulletproof are their spacesuits? This is a spacesuit of Rick Mastracchio, and this has a small dot here. And I would be very concerned, because you see that when they have an external oxygen supply on their backpack, I would be very concerned if the entire oxygen has been disappearing without these small holes, right? Yeah, so this is the stuff which is flying around in space. So, and that must be also responsible for all the holes on the surface of the moon. So let's get it from the surface of the moon. Yeah, so full of meteorites, it seems. Moon surface from the NASA high resolution. So it's very strange. There seems only to be circular meteorites floating around, huh? I don't see any rectangular size here. Interesting. I thought that a rectangular rock would leave a rectangular mark or what, but what do I know? Must be the gravitational pull on the surface of the moon, I guess. So the meteorites, which are just floating in free space there, they can have a severe effect on the spacesuits of the astronauts, and most likely must have been, because the spacesuit of one astronaut in that picture here has been affected by this. So that does not seem that rigid. No? It's not a knight in shining bright armor here. This is just relative flexible, and it seems quite thin and just quite weak. Yeah, so that should protect you from all the meteorites out there. Are we going to get serious, or is it just a comic show? What I would like to do in the following sessions is just simply not to question their science, but to just simply to go to quite another level, also a biblical level, that we really see this is a religion, this is not science, this is actually religion. They will come up with any hilarious explanation about the size and the distance and all the stuff, and you can't prove anything of their stuff, because you don't have the measurements. You don't get access to their locations and telescopes. Yeah, so you have to believe them. And I think that we should focus on the Bible instead, and then we come up with quite a different explanation about the things which have occurred, of the things that are occurring, and on the things which I am particularly interested in the things that will occur in the future. See, it's so easy to get distracted by the people, but on the other hand, it's so easy just to look at the earth as God's creation, and sometimes he gives us a hint, huh? When it is the last empire of the Romans, yeah, there is a saying in Daniel 2 that the last empire is then of iron and clay mixed, the modern powers, yeah, and so that would be, of course, Rome, like the iron legs, or the legs made of iron. Yeah, and so that would be the shape of Italy, actually. In Daniel 2, Daniel was the only one who could explain the dream to the king Nebuchadnezzar. So all their scientists at the time, so the Chaldeans, astrologers, soothsayers, and what else there were, yeah, they could not give the right interpretation with their science. So there are things which are only known to God and his people. So we do not have to repeat it. Yeah, because we know that the fourth empires are Babylonia, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Roman Empire. So when Greece is claiming during that time of their empire that they have the best scientists like Aristotle's and etc., you have to believe it, because they are the rulers. They make the rules, what you believe, and they can write any books. You don't have to believe it. So I would like that we just leave the path of just criticizing the science of this world, the secular science, and we instead focus on the biblical science. I think that Brett would really prefer that we go into the biblical science.
Sure. In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth.
Mm-hmm. So what's more important? The heaven or the earth?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
What's more important? Well, let's see. If God resides in heaven, I would say heaven is probably more important than earth.
Yeah, I think because you see that spirit can create matter. Or anything out of matter, but matter, so meaning the earth, cannot create anything and cannot create any spirit. So it must always be the right line, must be always spirit first, and then matter. It's like that God created something and just not out of matter only, but just by saying, by ordering. Yeah, you see that when God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament." Yeah, God is ordering the elements or whatever, or however he did it, nobody knows. So God created anything in the first place, and he created the spiritual realm, and the spiritual realm is more important because it says in that sentence the heaven and the earth. So that comes afterwards, in my understanding. Everybody is entitled to his own interpretation. And then there is a distraction right from the start. Because people like to distract and to just ridicule God and just throw in some deceptions. And there is a gap theory. Are you familiar with the gap theory, Brett?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of dispensationalism. You know?
I just want to point it out because you see that what the enemy tries to do is it just tries to mock God's word and to spread doubt. That's the same philosophy and what the serpent did in the Garden of Eden with Eve. Yay! And God really said, yeah. So it's the same here with the gap theory. Yeah. So the gap theory has several problems. Yeah, so that there would be between verse 1 and verse 2 in Genesis, there would be billions of years, of course. It's just the same. And when you read billions of years, you know instantly that it is coming from a secular source, because the biblical source would be creation of 6,000 years. So there could not be a gap of billions of years. So you know that it comes from the enemy. And it is not a regular Bible listen on a biblical question ask here, but it must be a distraction because they are using the terms billions. Yeah, the gap theory teaches of a recreation which is not mentioned anywhere in the Bible, and the gap theory contradicts the words of Jesus in Mark 10:6.
Yeah, well, you know, there's this agenda going around in the schools right now that you can choose what you want to, what gender you want to be, yeah.
Yeah, but it just makes no sense, because why should it take billions of years? Why? Because then it would serve the evolution theory.
No, of course. It would serve the Antichrist.
Yeah, but you can also debunk that. I do not know why it has not mentioned here. You can debunk that with the Matthew 1, the genealogy of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I think that would be much more easier to do than to go step by step.
It's the only way that makes sense, Michael. It's the only way that makes sense.
Yeah, you're with me with it, huh? Yeah, so
absolutely.
that would be the best thing to do. So just want to point this out, yeah, so that really people want to really spread literally here, diversion between the people who are just coming to the Bible. And the first thing then, when you approach the Bible, usually what you do is that you read the first chapter of Genesis. And even then, when you have just finished one sentence, the enemy tries to put any doubt in you. That's the gap theory. The gap theory would mean that, oh God,
the religio studiorum.
Yeah, and it would mean that God is doubting, would it be correct to do it this way? Maybe I do it better the other way, or maybe I just wait. Yeah, what's the sense in it? You see that the entire creation needs a plan. What is the sense in creating an earth and let it rest for billions of years? Just to look at it? Just to have a footstool? So that's the thing, that if you see that they use the term billions of years, you know that you're talking about the enemy, because the earth did not exist for billions of years. So quite clearly. Yeah. So, and for me, if somebody would ask me what is the most important book in the Bible, I always say the first chapter in Genesis. Why? Because it sets the foundation. If you don't know the foundation, you can admire Isaiah, you can admire the book of Job, you can say that, oh yeah, the most beautiful gospel is the Gospel of John. But you have to have the basics. You have to have a foundation, right, Brett?
Absolutely. Yeah, what is Rome attacking right now as of, the past years? Fundamentalism.
Yes, fundamentalism. In any case of religion, in any religion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Rome wants spiritual dominance, and the only way that she can get it is to attack your beliefs and to make you question your own beliefs. Well, if that's,
Yeah, so from the earth you see the sun and the moon. They are quite equal in shape or in size. Yeah, in shape also, of course, they're circular, like the Earth, haha, and they are just also equal in size. And the lesser light, of course, you see the lesser light can not only mean the size, but can also mean the brightness. Yeah, because I think there is no doubt that the sun is much more brighter than the moon will ever be. Except, of course, when it comes down to the moon landing. So maybe they come up with the idea that on the 20th of July in 1969, Brett, the moon out of a sudden, they recognize, oh, I got visitors. Maybe I calm down a bit and maybe I shut the lights a little bit off so that they can take any pictures. You see that? I think the level of deception out there is just unbelievable, and I do not know with what kind of hilarious explanations they will come in the future when they will make a revival of the moon landing. Yeah, it has been announced, I think, that they will try to go to the moon or to the Mars or maybe to both. And of course, today with CGI, everything is possible. Yeah. Yeah, sure, you have to count with it. Yeah, we'll have a Hollywood production which is far more exceeding than 1969. Come on, we're talking about more than 50 years in technology. Yeah, a Commodore C64 or the simplest Atari or the smallest MacBook, yeah, that would be high-tech in 1969.
Absolutely.
What did they have in 1969? Volkswagen Beetles.
I had vacuum tubes.
Yeah. Yeah, come on. Yeah, so, and in the Bible, it is a light on itself and not a reflection of the sun. I think that is commonly known for people who are just reading the Bible. Yeah. So they will avoid any fixed systems because everything is moving in that universe they claim in their heliocentric system. Yeah, so I think that's quite the average thing to us. What is the moon? Yeah, I think that's okay for the session. I told you about the distance from the Earth to the Sun, and we talked about the gap theory and some other stuff. I like to make that sessions shorter because I know that I'm getting older and maybe the concentration will not keep up after more than 2 hours of sessions. And let's have shorter sessions in the future so that maybe we have a better result in the end. So thanks for having me, Brett, and looking really forward for the next time. And then I'm wishing everybody a great Sabbath in the United States, on the other side, on the West. And please take care of your cats because that's the entire Earth just in the shape of a cat.
Yes, we saw. Yeah, I've got a good laugh out of that one. Makes me think of my little black cat I got here. Yeah, looks just like her. Anyway, yeah, thanks, Michael, for taking the time to put the script together, and looking forward to what you're going to have to bring to the table next time. And we'll see you then, God willing. Bye-bye.
Hey, which is bigger, the sun or the moon? Could be a trick question.
Which moon?
Which moon?
We have a lot of them.
No, we only have one moon on our planet.
Not us personally, but
I'm not talking about Rigel 7 or Star Trek 9. Our moon, which is bigger, the sun or the moon?
The sun's light radius or the actual moon?
No, which is bigger, physically bigger, the sun or the moon?
I would say the moon. Yeah, because I think it's a trick question. Yeah, I would say the moon.
Your answer is the moon. The moon is bigger than the sun.
All right.
You can't fool us.
Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can. Thank you. God bless you.